Great. Thanks, Michael, for joining me today. I want to flip it and ask you a question.
All
My
right.
question for you is on turnkey providers. So, of course, you've helped thousands of investors get started one rental at a time. And I actually, even in your books, haven't heard of turnkey. So, want to hear from you what your thoughts are, pros and cons of using a turnkey provider.
You're right. This is a topic that I have only touched on probably on the periphery, and I've never addressed it head on. So thank you for asking this. I can't believe I've missed this question after 14,000 videos, but hey, it happens. So let me kind of lay the groundwork of my story. Then I'll lay the groundwork of where we are in history, and then I'll kind of answer the question directly. So
Great.
when I first started investing, way back in 2002, Norris Drive, and really what I was looking at would have been considered turnkey or nearly turnkey, because my experience, my perception, my lack of knowledge, my thinking was, hey, I should buy cleaner properties, that are already done. Right? It won't take another 5 or 8 or 10 grand out of my account, which frankly I didn't have. Right? I thought if
Yep.
I bought turnkey, it would take the least amount of capital, because again, you're kind of using a loan, 80% leverage to pay for the remodel, right? It's already done. It's already baked in the cake.
Yep.
And in the beginning, that was the right answer. Like if Norris Drive was a fixer upper, there's a very good chance that we only ever buy Norris Drive instead of buying Norris Drive and then buying Ferris and then buying Terrace, which were the
Mhm.
3 properties we bought with the only money we had. We only had 40 grand, 20 grand for the first, 10 grand for the second, 10 grand for the third. And as you know my story, those 3 properties were the seeds to cash out refis. They were the seeds to 1031s. Like those 3 properties, no joke, have ties to more than half our portfolio.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, if you just look at the time, right, those 3 became cash out refis to the next 5. Then those became the 1031s to 80. Like I could trace back all our properties to those first 3, or nearly all our properties to those first 3. So in the beginning, again, without knowledge, just gut feeling, turnkey was the answer. And it was because I could buy more. As history has gone on, and really you got to remember, I was buying in 2002, and to my knowledge, there were no turnkey providers. I was just buying clean multifamily, or buying clean properties from mom and pop. That's what I was doing. There was no providers. But over time, right, in the Great Recession, when we were buying properties for 50% off, 60% off, the only stuff you could buy was junk. Stuff that had been foreclosed, stuff that had been
Yep.
vacant for a year. It was all nasty, nasty stuff, right? There were no really turnkey providers. However, if you've read our book, I quickly developed a strategy of borrowing private capital. So what we were doing at that time was we're basically doing BRRRR before it was a thing. So we would buy, let's just call it a $50,000 property. We would borrow the money from someone like you who had a bunch of capital but no time. We would pay you 10 or 12% interest. But unlike most people, is Olivia and I funded the repairs, which gave you the
Mm.
ultimate security, right? You
Yep.
came in for 100% purchase, but I would spend 20 grand remodeling it, and then the value would be 120. So, that's what we were doing. We were buying junk and only junk. And then you fast forward to 2018. I'm retired. I have team, I have experience, and more importantly, I have time.
Yep.
So what we started doing in 18, and we did it for about 30 months, because then the deals just disappeared, is we actually did turnkey. We bought slumlord properties, the most disgusting stuff you could see. We spent the money repairing them, and then we put tenants in, and then we sold them to landlords. I'll just tell one story right now. Is I wish, Dana, I held on to all of those. We did 56, I think. I wish I still,
56.
yeah,
Wow.
56 in 30 months. I wish I still owned all of them. I was
No.
an idiot for selling them. I was an idiot for being bored. But that's another story. So now come to, because I have experience with turnkey, I have experience with junk, I have experience taking junk and making it turnkey. So I guess the answer today is turnkey is a big business. There are lots of people doing it. I would tell the Mike Zuber of today, frankly, to be leery of turnkey because I think they're squeezing a lot of the margin out of the
Hmm.
deal.
Yep, they've got to make money.
They've got to make money, and they may leave some juice in it, but they're squeezing a heck of a lot out of it. I still believe if you spent the time, you could find an owner operator or a somebody a homeowner and get a clean property.
Yeah.
There's really no value in a landlord getting a tenant occupied clean property versus a vacant clean property, right? The only thing you have to do after that is lease it, right? Which is
Yep.
shouldn't be hard to do. But at the end of the day, I truly believe it's all math. Because sometimes, and it's probably not today, but there are some times in the market where I believe you could buy a clean vacant property or nearly perfect property, add the extra 2 or 5 grand and get a better yield. Because as you know, the
Yeah.
only metric that matters is yield. Because again, like buying a fixer upper, it's closing cost, down payment, and make ready. There will be sometimes that beats closing cost, down payment, no make ready.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, I think it's just math. If a turnkey
Yeah.
provider is providing an opportunity for better yield, then do it. I just don't think they're doing that today. Could they in the future? Maybe. But today, turnkey is a big business, and I think they're squeezing out a lot of the juice, in my opinion.
So do you educate then your students who go through school to talk to
Mhm.
turnkey providers and then also to do their own work and have a spreadsheet with properties they found on their own, properties with a turnkey provider, and compare all of them? Is that the recommendation?
So I'll answer it, but it's so not in school, right? School is more of a community. We would definitely like in our live sessions, we will take those questions and answer them.
Hmm.
But as far as the how to or the cookbook, that is in Teachable, right? Teachable houses
Okay.
my
Yeah.
courses where people can go through and basically follow the recipe. And absolutely, the recipe is, hey, go out, learn your market. Look, I even tell them the cat because a lot of people will come back and say, Michael, I have no construction period or construction experience. I say, do you have eyes? Yes, you have
Yeah.
eyes. So this is what I tell people. All you have to do is you have to go A, B, C. A means turnkey, ready to go, zero out of pocket. B means paint carpet, nothing structural, nothing mechanical. All you have to do is you have to get a quote from a painter and, maybe understand carpet or flooring. So that would be a
Yeah.
B. And then C is, oh my God, I've got to do a full gut remodel. Maybe gut the kitchen, maybe gut the bath, right? That's the bigger project. So my recipe or my how to in the course is that's all you have to do in the beginning because that will allow you to understand closing costs, down payment, and how
Yeah.
much make ready, which will impact the yield calculation. So absolutely in the cookbook, which is teachable, not in
Yep.
school, but we address it in school all the time. School's a community. People ask questions. We answer questions. We do live streams. It doesn't have the step-by-step. It doesn't have my Excel example, which I give away in the course. It's like, hey, here's a simple example. Here's how to build it. Here's how to do the math. So it is available. It's just not on school.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. And I love that. I love the thought process that you have over and go through with it. And I actually think, the whole equation you mentioned of make ready and what you do there and getting creative during this time when interest rates are high, it's a good reminder that, hey, there's opportunities. You just have to get creative in some cases.
Yeah, I'll give you one more example on this. It's kind of a modification. This isn't in the course, but I would add it if I had to build it again today. And I think there are some parts of the country, San Diego, Seattle, come to mind, where the answer might be, hey, let me go buy the perfect house, AKA lot, where I
Hmm.
can add an ADU. because I was talking to a builder in San Diego, and they can roughly build an ADU for about 250 to $300 a foot. They're going to be renting or having value of $800 a foot when done. So
Wow.
again, so if that's true, again, I'm not a builder, I'm just taking somebody else's
Yeah.
word for it. But what I would be doing in that example is I'd be creating a buy box with the criteria for finding the right lots. And typically a right lot is over 8,500 square feet, corner lot, alley access, basically how a car could get to that second dwelling.
Yep.
Um, and that would be my buy. And then I would do, hey, I buy in the house, and then here's my build cost, and that would be in make ready. You could change the title, the
Yep.
build cost, whatever you want, but it's all math, and it should be very simple and straightforward. That's the beauty of what I teach. It's not complicated.
Yeah, once you have the process down. Great. I love it. What advice do you have for those who have basically gone through a turnkey provider, are so used to just really quickly, this deal, this deal, this deal, aren't really used to doing the work? What is your recommendation for them?
Well, if you're working with a turnkey provider and you are getting the expected returns and you are happy with them, why change? I mean,
Don't
that's
fix
my
it.
first answer. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if it's not broken, don't fix it. My opinion is, I believe I don't know. I'll pick it's a high number. Let's call it 90%. I believe 90% of folks, if they did the work and they learned the skill, because let's be clear, in my opinion, if you're just buying off a menu from a turnkey provider, you have not learned the skill of real estate investing.
Yeah.
You've clearly learned a skill of saving for a down payment. Maybe you have a high income job or something, but you haven't learned the skill. You're
Mhm.
buying and then relying on someone else, which is okay. If it's working, again, don't fix what's not broken. But I'm willing to challenge you to think that if you spent 90 days looking in your buy box, that with a fairly high degree of confidence, you could be getting better deals. But maybe you're in a situation where you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you have a growing family, you just don't have the time, and you're happy spending 5 minutes, once every 6 months to buy a home. Again, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, thanks so much. I learned a lot, Michael, today, and I really appreciate it. And everyone go to Teachable for that.
Yeah. Well, let me turn the script. Let me turn it around on you, because again, you're Hemlane,
Yeah.
works with lots of mom and pop investors, has tens of thousands of units under management. I'm curious. You actually may not know this, but maybe you do. Like, how many of the units that come into your program are turnkey? And then my real question is, do you see any repair differences in the first year or two from quote unquote turnkey versus not turnkey? I don't know if you see that stuff.
Yeah, good question. So, typically, the turnkey, it has to be, I think, less than 10%. I don't know the exact number, but it has to
Just a
be less
guess.
than
Yeah.
10%. And a lot of them that do come in, it's after they've done turnkey, they've had another property manager there, and then they decide to do the actual work, join Hemlane, have more of that
Got it.
transparency afterwards. And I think what it has to do with is having a bit more control, a bit more transparency. And as from your personality perspective, having some bad situation with a property manager
Yeah.
and saying, hey, I want some of that control back. And so that's what we've seen. There are some cases where you buy through a turnkey provider and then choose Hemlane as your property management option. We just let them know, by the definition of turnkey is as passive as it gets. And
Right.
so we just have to remind those folks that, hey, we're not completely passive. The whole purpose of Hemlane is to help you make those decisions, help you provide you that increased cash flow, but you are still managing your property. So as long as we're aligned on that, it actually works out really, really well for us. And then I
Yeah.
think you're right. When there's new builds, we just see so little repairs. Like if there is some sort of new build through the process, those new developments, it's kind of set it and forget it, versus an older property where we see a lot.
Yeah, I love that. Again, folks, if you haven't not seen, not tried, not use the free version. Yes, there is a free version. Go to hemlane.com. You just mentioned ORAT. So if you do get one of their paid service, you get a big whopping discount. Dana, you're amazing. Take care.
Great. Thanks for having me.
You got it.